You're listening to the WB Download, coming to you from Wheel & Builder's showroom in Studio 1C. We are a podcast centered around building custom homes, the customer experience of building a custom home, and a really entertaining listen from many great guests and interviews that may or may not have anything to do with building. I'm excited to share with you their voice and their stories that will enhance your idea of the custom builder world. Well, all right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the WB Download. Today is Tuesday, October 22nd. And man, we are rolling through this year like it just nothing, man. I can't believe how fast it's going. I think I say this all the time. So happy fall, everybody. Thanks for being here today and listening to what we have to say. Man, our guest today is Bryan from Dayton Fireplace, and we will get into that here in a little bit, but it's going to be interesting to hear about Bryan, his life, and his company up there and how long we've been doing business together. So, hey, right now we are, my family is in between football and basketball. And Raina's no longer sideline cheering, but she still has comp cheer, which slows us down a little bit running. And it's really kind of a cool place to be. So we might find out here what it's like to be what we would consider a normal family, where we might just come down and come home from work and sit down and eat dinner and then chat and then hang out a little bit, which is odd. We don't do that very much, but it's going to be fun. I realized that, watching the 7th grade football, it's not much different than youth football. There's still outside influences that influence the minimum coaching that goes on there. There's 64 kids on the team that, most of them didn't get to play. And there's just a lot of stuff that happens, in this younger age when they're in sports, and it drives me crazy as a parent to listen to this crap and then to watch it. And it also is tough because I'm trying to explain to the kids that today is not, the rest of forever. I mean, it's just, everything changes as you get older, and the kids who are the stars of the team aren't going to be the stars of the team when they're freshmen or varsity. And there's 64 kids on this football team. And when we walk out of a varsity football game on a Friday night, there are 9 seniors on that team. So it goes from 64 to 9, just a big change. So I'm always so fascinated to watch Cody and watch Raina and watch their friends grow up and become different people and learn different things and excel and do. It's really cool to see this stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Chilling. Of course, we live on a farm, so we don't really chill. We also had the Spirit of Construction Gala this past weekend, and this is a foundation that it raises money for scholarships to get people into college programs for construction industry. I joined this board back in 2002 or 3 or 4, I think, somewhere in there. And a guy named Jay Myers, which is one of my all-time heroes, my mentors, he got me involved, and I just kind of stayed with it for a long time until we started getting busy with Homeramas and our meetings ended up on the same time, and I just wasn't able to keep up with both of them, but we still continued to support the gala. And so this weekend was, they were honoring Steve Eater, which is one of the top 5 guys that was in the ESOP for Messer Construction. And ESOP is when they employee-owned or purchased company. And Steve is just a great guy. When we built his house, I had so many conversations with him. We kind of understood each other, and I was able to work through things with him, and it was kind of neat. And we all just gained this super appreciation for each other. So he got the award. So we bought a table, and the company went down there and we celebrated him. So it's really, really cool. It's such an important thing that we need to be doing through our Home Builders Association and through the Spirit, is to get people involved and get them interested in the construction business and industry. And you have to start that at a young age. I mean, this is great that we're doing scholarships for college, but you really need to get them fired up when they're in the 1st grade, 2nd grade, thinking about, wow, look at that. That's something cool. Who doesn't love to run equipment and swing hammers and see all that stuff happening? So that's a really important thing that they're doing. But here in the company, we've got a lot of things going on. One of the things that, and I say this all the time, but when we're talking about permits that hold us up, is we have a lot of jobs because we build a lot of big things out in the country, and they have septic systems. And when we do a septic system, it's not like you just apply for the permit and they hand it over to you. You have to get a soil test. You have to get a design. You have to have a basic idea of your house plans, location. You have to have a survey. There's a number of different things you have to go before you can even make the application. And when you get into Hamilton County, we have to do things a certain way. You have to have special engineers because nobody else wants to go down there. So there's only 2 or 3 people that do it down there. And then once you make the application, it could be 6 or 8 months before we get our permit. And the same thing in Claremont County. There's a way we have to go through. We have to have a plot plan, and which means you have to have completed plans, building plans, before we can ever do the design, before we can ever make the application. And everybody is so busy and so slow at what they're doing as far as on the civil side of things that it just holds us up. So now we finally have worked through this plan. We've worked through pricing. We've got our contract, and now we're going to sit here and wait. Now our pricing is going to struggle because it's waited so long. Customers are going to be disappointed because they get amnesia when I tell them how long this is going to take. And then it puts us into bad weather. So when we get back there in August, September, I start thinking about what it's going to look like here in December, January, and February, and how tough it's going to be to build these things and get anything done. So we have a lot of permits that we're waiting on, and it creates a backlog. We feel good about what we got going on, but we're waiting. But so that's where we're at. We got some other jobs when one of them we're just sheeting the roof on. The other one we just set trusses on. Another one we've got where we're laying brick on. Another one we're in the finishing stages. And in the fire job down there, we're getting ready to hang drywall. So that's a big milestone for us. We're pretty excited about it. So last week, I also got the chance to run up to Cleveland, and I talked about this prior to this, but I visited a company called Walk Your Plans, and this was a really cool deal where these guys have this big room. It's probably a 4,000, 5,000 square foot room. And it's got these projectors that project the plans to scale down onto the floor. And they put a floor mat down and says welcome on it. And you walk through the front door and you can walk through the hallways and feel the space. And it only works really if you entrench yourself into this thing. So you have to walk through it, feel yourself between the walls. You can't just walk around all over the place and not really live in it. So it was really neat. I was expecting it to be more like a virtual reality thing, but at the same time, I was still amazed by it and thought it was really cool. It was super helpful for our customers. If you follow us on social media, you saw the pictures. You can see some pictures here that Leanne will probably post of it for the download. But new technology, and like this was up in Lakewood, just outside of Cleveland. Another cool thing about this is I have one of my best friends from high school growing up, lives in Lakewood. And so I was able to go up, and on Tuesday night, went to his daughter's volleyball game, hung out there, watched them. We went out and had a beer and grabbed some food afterwards, woke up the next morning, went to Grumpy's for breakfast. And then I moved on over to, Walk Your Plans. So it was always good to see Andy. So that was really cool. And so, whenever we get a chance to see things like that, I love to talk about it because it's really, really neat stuff that's going to help customers visualize things. So one thing I was always thinking about here is that I never really talk about like what we're talking about in church. What were we in all the time? So Preacher Ben started talking about getting caught in a trap a couple weeks ago, which means that you got to be careful. When you're standing next to somebody and they're fired up and they're complaining about something, it triggers you to get fired up and get complaining about something. When somebody else is happy, hopefully that makes you happy. When somebody's in a rut, they want to pull you down there with them. You have to be careful not to get caught up in that kind of stuff. But then Preacher Ben had stepped out for a couple of weeks, and Preacher Will was up there on the stage, and he always does a fabulous job. And both of these guys, they both have been on the download here, but Will started talking about Nehemiah. And Nehemiah was the cupbearer to the king, which means that he tasted all of his food and all of his drinks before they gave it to the king, make sure somebody wasn't trying to poison him. He was also his right-hand man and made sure that everything went really, really cool. But I think that I wonder if this guy is just like the guy that Mike Tyson had. Mike Tyson paid a guy to follow him around and tell him how great he was. He's like, you're the champ. You're the greatest that ever lived. I don't think it was the same thing, but hey, man, you never know. So we were talking about Nehemiah. And so Will was preached again last weekend, and we'll have Preacher Ben back next week. But I'm going to try and do that. I'm going to try and update like every time we're on here talking about what we're going through in church. Just makes for an interesting conversation. So as we approach up on the holidays here, we're at the end of October, which we have Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and all those good things, which means Christmas parties. And we are planning our Christmas party for our company. And this takes a lot of time and thought process for this thing, because you got to get in there to everybody's schedule, because everybody's always got something going on, or some people do. And then we always have conflicting parties. there's a lot of different things happening. So it's a lot more work than what you think it is, than what it should be. So, as we come down to the end of the year here, I always say this, I have the tendency to do a lot of banking towards the end of the year. And when I think banking, I'm thinking numbers. And so I'm working with, my end of year cash flow, my projections for the year, meeting with our CPAs. I have Allison as our bookkeeper and Carrie as our office manager. And so we're all working together to see what the fourth quarter looks like. We have to make a quarterly tax payment and be prepared for the spring for our returns and all of those kind of things. So we are balancing things out to see where we need to be. And so it's always, I don't know. I mean, when you're busy, I think about it as a baseball player. When you're hitting, you're enjoying the game. And when you're not hitting, you think this game sucks. And so when you're busy, it's kind of exciting to see all these things and work on all these things. When you're not busy, it's not nearly as exciting to look at your numbers. So last week also we had Leanne's work anniversary. Leanne Matthews has been here for 3 years as our marketing coordinator. And she wears a lot of hats in this company, keeps people in line, is really, really helpful. So congratulations and thank you to Leanne for being here and all of your wonderful work and being on this team. And then we also have Carrie Holsinger, who's our office manager. It was her birthday last week. So we went out and celebrated her birthday. I always think about when we celebrate birthdays, we go to lunch wherever they want with the entire company, and we celebrate. We get a cake and we send some cards around and we make a big deal about it. But it always reminds me of that episode of The Office when Jim took over for Michael and there was multiple birthdays coming up, and he's like, "Well, why don't we just celebrate them all at the same time?" And you just can't do that. And it was funny to see how the whole thing blew up. And when Jim told Michael about it, he's like, "Oh, you can't do that. I tried that one time." And I tried it one time too, and it doesn't work out. So you make sure you do that individually. But kind of a fun thing we do here. So congratulations to both of them too. So I'm not even going to really talk much about the Homerama Awards. We just didn't have a good run at it with these awards. Even when, which is a majority of most years when we win almost everything, I look around and I'm like, really? I can't believe that guy didn't win this. I can't believe that guy didn't win that. And of course this year I'm like, I can't believe that apparently there was something going on at the front gate before the people walked in because they got amnesia as they walked out. So anyway, I'm really proud of this house. So you guys have heard it from us. I heard it from the general public as they were out there. And I'm just proud of our customers, the Dizards, and working with them on this house and this project and this show. It's been fun. We've enjoyed it. We've had a good time. We've become closer friends than what we already were. And so it's just been a great experience. And I just can't thank them guys enough. I can't thank this team enough. All of our trade partners and everybody who put the show together. So, really, really cool experience, of course, once again with Homerama. So anyway, hey, let's talk about Bryan Kyle. This cat here, I met him in 2009. I was buying fireplaces and some brick and some other things from a company here in Cincinnati that just completely pissed me off. And I was ready to go and find somebody else and had a customer that said, "Hey, I went up and checked this place out. Why don't you look at them?" And it's been history ever since. So this is really cool to look back and think, man, this guy, we've been working together for 16 something years. So I'm just really proud of that in general. But when you get to meet Bryan, he's such a good person. We're from the same town, so we see each other at different events, and we have a lot of pride that goes with our town in Lebanon and our school district. But to do business with him and to be associated with a family-owned and operated business. But again, we're going to talk about this as we get into the podcast. You're not just going up and buying a fireplace from them and saying, "Yep, order that one," and that's what we're going to do. It's about placement. It's about proportions. It's about what you're looking to get out of it. There's so many other details that need to go into this in order to make it work for the house, for the customer, for us, and for them to be a great team partner with us here at Wheelan Builders. So, man, I'm really proud to have Bryan on here. I just want to thank him again for being on here. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Bryan Kyle from Dayton Fireplace. All right. As I said earlier, today we have Mr. Bryan Kyle from Dayton Fireplace Systems on the show today on the WB Download. And I want to bring him in here. Bryan, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Man, we've been doing business together for a long time.
It's been a while.
I think it's 15 years.
15 years, yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about that yesterday.
I remember the guy that hooked me on to you was a customer that we didn't end up building his house, thank God. But it was back in the day, and he was like, I think I don't want to say their names, but we were dealing with somebody else. And he's like, I went up to this place and checked them out. I'm like, well, they're from Dayton. Why the heck would I want to go all the way up there? And then I think I ended up calling up there. We ended up talking to you guys, and we just took off and never looked back, and we've been doing business ever since.
Yeah, it's funny that dividing line, Dayton and Cincinnati is a strange dividing line, which is so funny because we're 15 minutes up 75. So,
yeah. I was, we were over in Anderson the other day for something, and we built a couple houses over there, and I'm like, by the time I'm done doing this, I might as well build a house in Columbus. I mean, it takes just as long to get there, and it's forever to get out that way. But Dayton. So we of course we're right here on 75. We're close to Dayton. It doesn't matter to me. But so thanks for being here, man. Tell me a little bit about yourself. So where'd you grow up at? Where'd you come from?
Yeah. So grew up in West Carrollton, Ohio, suburb of Dayton.
Yeah.
And my father started this business in the late 80s.
Yeah.
He was really he worked in Monroe at a color press, printing press, and was about to get laid off. He was in the business in the early 80s, kind of got into it back in the late 80s, and him and a partner decided to start a business.
Yeah.
And from there, it kind of grew. It was funny, as I was thinking the other day, as I was 12, 13 years old, I was helping them clean up on new construction sites.
Yeah.
To, when they were doing the fireplaces, and it was the old big prefabricated wood burning boxes, triple wall pipe. I mean, it's nothing like it is today.
Yeah.
Over time, they just built this thing up, and I graduated college in 98, came right into the business, and was a sales rep for a while. And then even though I still do the sales, still work with you and some other builders, I kind of got in more to the executive side, and now I'm president.
Nice. Where'd you go to college at?
Eastern Kentucky University.
No kidding. Yeah. That's like the
Richmond, Kentucky.
Is that the second or third largest party school in the world?
It should be the first. It was. I think it's calmed down since I've been there, but it was good.
What'd you get your degree in?
Business management.
Nice.
Yeah. Emphasized in human resources. Have never used the HR. I had a little bit, but it's still the business management.
Nice. So it's always amazes me that all of us that grew up in this business, you have this family history in it, and how young we were on the job. My kids are the same way. I'm sure your kids are probably the same way. They're always into your business somehow, and it's cool to hear stories like that, because I love doing business with you guys, and specifically for that. Shamefully, I didn't know all of this stuff about you until recently. So what about, you're married? You got a couple kids?
Yeah, married. My wife Jody, and two kids. Madison is 17, just turned 17, and Braden is 14.
Okay,
and we live in Lebanon.
Yeah,
we're Lebanonites, just like you.
The greatest.
It's a greatest small town, big small town.
That's right, around
here. So, no, it's been great. They are into sports, things that just every other family and teenagers are in right now. So
what brought you to Lebanon? Good. How long have you guys been up there?
See, we moved there in about 10 years now.
Okay.
My wife is from Fairfield, went to UC. Me and her, actually, I lived in Cincinnati at the time we met. I was driving. You're saying, hey, going up to Dayton. I actually lived in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Was driving back and forth pretty much every day to work. Got married in 2006. We decided to move up to the Centerville area, closer to my work. Over time, we had friends and trying to find more land.
Yeah.
And obviously, so wanted to move a little further south. So Lebanon was a good middle point.
How'd you guys meet?
Friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Just, it was kind of a random night. Just met through friends and just went from there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Centerville's a good area too. We played our playoff games up there last year, and there's some NFL guys that come from there. There's a lot of people there, but that's a quiet little, kind of like a rich little town.
It's almost like a Mason before Mason.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's how it is. It's so funny. You're talking about the Cincinnati Dayton conversation just earlier about, hey, we never, you're saying, hey, we're up in this, personally, we're up in Dayton, or just south of Dayton anyway. But really that line between Dayton and Cincinnati it's crashing.
Yeah.
And but when I was growing up, Centerville was kind of the hot place. Now Warren County is Springboro and Mason, and it's just trying to grow closer.
Yeah.
And Lebanon's Warren County, but it's the next going to be the hot place to build.
I agree. I love it. I love it up there. I love Lebanon. I love our town. You know, I get to see each other at a couple of events here and there, even though our kids are a couple years apart. But it's I don't know, man. I grew up out in the country, and that's as close to being out in the country, but it's got that little town up there that's really cool. We do things on Friday nights. We do in the town. The town sets it all up, and I just love being from up there. So I'm sure you have as good of experience as I do. I don't know. I mean, with our kids being in the program, and it's pretty neat. Yeah,
I think it's great. It does give you the small town feel, but it's still, it's a larger area, larger community, larger school system. So it kind of gives you the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Yep. So let's talk about Dayton Fireplace. So this is a company. What do you guys do? You tell me. What's your sweet spot?
The business started in 1992, and we were always a very much catered to new construction, home builders, and from 1992 to 2008. Pretty much 80% of our business was to be what they call a builder distributor. That means that we're dealing with the contractor, helping them with their clients determine what the best fireplace, gas, wood, now electric, pellet. There's different segments in the fireplace industry now, but we help them decide what's best for their homes.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And in 2008, obviously, when the downturn of the housing market came, we got into more of the retail.
Yeah.
And it's really, it was a rough time, but coming out the other end has been very good.
Yeah.
Because now it's very much of a 50-50 split. We still do the same thing. We help builders. We help their clients. But we also have a segment that is for, people that already lived in their house with service or, hey, let's add a fireplace or let's do an outdoor fireplace. And we can help them with that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where our approach is a little different than other people and other, people in the hearth industry. They tend to keep fireplaces maybe second. It used to be where masonry companies.
Oh yeah,
that's what their second thing.
Because that's all we ever built was masonry fireplaces. Well, there was no such thing as an insert.
Exactly, and then the big prefabricated fireboxes came, and the manufacturer just sold to the masons.
What do you think the drive was there to create this insert as opposed to building? And for everybody listening, the difference is, we used to form this. I don't know why the hell we did this, but we used to form this. We bumped the foundation out. It went all the way down to the basement, and then the carpenters would form in this plywood base. And then we would just mix up we would mix up mortar or we'd mix up concrete, pour the hearth, so to speak, which is not the hearth that you see today, which is sticking out in the family room. This was the hearth where the fireplace set on this thing. And then the mason would come in and we'd build it out of fire brick on the inside, regular brick on the outside, and then clay pipe running all the way up through the center of it. And then you'd put a cap on the top of it.
Exactly.
And it was a huge deal.
Yeah, it was a huge deal. And it's funny is you don't see it anymore.
Right.
It's very rare. Even the mason fireplaces are kits.
Yeah.
I just think just like everything else, innovation has, allowed for fireplaces first. It just became the boxes, just a little easier instead of taking, a week to do, or, just the time that masons had.
Yeah.
You could literally put a box in and then you just run your flue. What's even funnier now is there are, even at that time, most fireplaces, they were on the outside wall.
Yeah.
So they could bump it out and then they run it up.
Right.
I would say now, 90% of the homes we do, even for you guys, the fireplace is inside the wall, inside the house.
Yeah.
I mean,
we don't want to block the light coming in from the outside, the beautiful windows and the view.
I mean, so it's in between the, a great room and a bedroom. You can put them in basements. You can put them anywhere. And I think that's where just innovation and just, the difference between the old mason now to gas fireplace. It's changed the hearth industry.
I'd say that wood burning stove was probably the first step towards what we're at now with the inserts, because I remember, you would put a stove in there and you could burn it, but then they make up, if you had a masonry fireplace, they had a face frame that you could put over top of it and then put the wood burner in front of it and vent it out through there.
The wood insert.
And my grandparents had one for every house they lived in. It was 5,000 degrees in their house every time we'd walk in there.
It's like
they could cook on things. It was awesome. But then probably when they came out with the gas fireplace, where all you had to do was go up and flip a switch, was probably one of the coolest things that made people start switching more. And then why do you want to go split wood? Why do I want to go split wood? And plus the natural gas revolution probably pushed it too. But why would I want to go split wood when I can just go over and go click? Instant romance.
It's instant. Yes. Boom. You're good. And I think the industry in general, not first it became just a gas fireplace or gas logs. The invention of what they call the direct vent technology.
Right.
I think revolutionized.
Yeah, you're right. 100%.
Whereas, and it's got to the point now, I know sometimes people still complain about the whole glass panel in front of the fireplace. But that technology has just definitely changed what a fireplace is now.
Which means we don't have to run a flue all the way up. We don't have to build a chimney around it all the way up. We can just simply take a maybe sometimes 12, 14-inch piece, maybe 2-foot long piece, stub it out the back of the house. It's vented out. You're done.
Yeah. And the other thing too is you're getting functionality outside that fireplace. Used to be even the old masonry fireplaces. Yes, it had a roaring fire, but if you're 90% of that heat just going straight up the flue, and it's taking all the air from the house anyway, just sucking it out.
Inefficient thing you
could ever do, which is so funny. And and then everybody's like, well, this is a glass panel right in front of my fire. How is this going to help me heat?
Right.
And
it'll run you out.
They will run you out. They are very efficient, very effective. And so it really helps functionalities these days compared to what it used to be back in the day.
So I'm interested in this retail thing that you're talking about. And when I always talk about retail is we do new construction and retail. Retail would be you're working directly for a customer on a rehab remodel project or whatever. Mm-hmm. So when somebody calls you to do that, are you dealing with a remodel contractor or somebody says, hey, I've got this family room sitting here and I want to put a fireplace in there. What do you do? Do you guys go out and frame it in and build it in and do all that stuff? Or
so we will do from the framing. We will do stonework.
Nice.
On our retail side. Yeah, we will do all that.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, I know. Don't be calling me tomorrow. Hey. But no, we will do, we have some stonework for them, marble mantle. And again, fireplaces now you can put them anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to put a fireplace from gas to electric just in a spot where somebody might want it. Run it, it's a little bit more, you have a little bit more to do, a little bit more time into it. But no, it's similar to a new construction, except you're doing all the work yourself at that spot.
Right.
So yeah, we work with mostly retail, and you have to understand, even houses that were built 20 years ago. Think of a gas fireplace as an appliance.
Yep.
And in 20 years, most people are changing out their dishwasher, your refrigerator, oven. That's all been, they've been changed. They've been bought.
About that.
Well, old gas fireplaces that were very, still kind of inefficient. They now, hey, what can we do what can we do to make this better?
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, hey, we got to take it out, put a new one in. The new ones look better logs, a little, nicer flame, more functionality, remote control.
Yeah.
And that is a big segment.
And plus, now that you say that, those face frames that were on there back in the day, they came with brass and gold and
brass, polished brass,
big money.
Yeah, and you can't give that stuff away anymore right now.
Great.
But it will come back. It's funny you say that. It will come
probably.
back. Yeah,
probably
soon.
So, do you have any other family in the business? Is there anybody else?
No, I have a sister. She really never got into the business, so no.
Yeah.
It just
good for you.
I just it's funny as I. Sometimes I always wonder what my kids will do, but we'll see.
I do too. I wonder that too. And I talk to people all the time and they're like, well, we told our kids that they're only allowed to play 2 sports. And we told our kids that they're going to go do this and they're going to go do that. And I'm kind of like of the thought process. Like I want them to be able to make these decisions with us, but more so on their own. And the same thing with coming into this business or whatever they want to do. Now is the time when you're a kid, man, go out and do whatever you could possibly do and learn and experience, and maybe you want to go do something else. Maybe
enjoy it. And it's funny as my father kind of same way. I almost felt like the pool. It was just internally, not externally.
Yeah,
internally, because I think I probably saw what he did and how he built it.
Yep.
So for me, it was like, okay. When he asked, he's like, "Hey, do you want to come?" Because I was working in Lexington. After school, right after, he's like, "Hey, this is what do you want to do?"
Right. That's good.
Let's go.
That's good. I feel the same. I don't feel my dad I think he really wanted us to work in the business. Mm-hmm. I mean, no matter what, it was like, because we've been working in the business since we were in 6th grade, why would I go try and do something else? And every opportunity I was going to go and work on a farm and it was an awesome place, but there was no stability there. And then you don't realize what's in your future, what's ahead of you. And it's a legacy, for your family to continue that on. And whether you want to carry on somebody else's legacy or family legacy, it's the truth. It's really something that's there. Yeah. And nobody outside of you will ever understand that. Most people think you're spoon fed and your daddy gave you everything you have and you had nothing to do with where you got today. And it just
that's a struggle bus for me. I'm like, wait a second, I have seen the lows, I have seen the highs.
I've always got 2 words for those people, and they can guess which ones they are. Exactly. It takes a lot to do it, but I'm with you. I mean, I think it would be cool if the kids came in and did something with it. But so your fireplace. Your fireplace suppliers, you deal mostly with Heat and Glow, but is there other manufacturers that you deal with?
Yeah, so I tell people, think of General Motors.
Yeah.
And the parent company is called Hearth and Hope Technologies. Heat and Glow is probably their largest brand, but they have other brands such as Heatilator, Majestic, Quadrifire, Harman, and their Heat and Glow is probably their largest overall brand. But some of the other brands are more nichey.
Yeah.
Heatilator is a little bit more on they consider that a little bit more on their builder line. Is
that the same thing that people call builder grade? I don't know what the hell that is.
I don't. That's a bad word.
I hate
that word. But I don't know if it's just they give you more options. Let's just say this. It's kind of like I said, General Motors. You have a Chevy, you have a GMC, Cadillac. I mean, and it's basically the same thing.
I wonder if the world's coming to that, because in the furnace industry, there's probably 2 manufacturers that make all of them.
Yep.
And this car manufacturer, I mean, if you go buy a Nissan and you buy a Ford, it's exactly the same. A Fiat and all of those things. It's just crazy how this gets combined, but you think that they're separate. And but I was wondering, we've always dealt with Heat and Glow for the most part.
Yep.
So they make our indoor and outdoor fireplaces, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they make wood burners and direct vents and
they make from wood burning to gas, indoor, outdoor. They pretty much, I mean, if we say, hey, here's their product line, most 99%, 95% of your customers will be like, yeah, we can pick from this.
Right. So we'll get into that heat and glow thing, or not the heat and glow, but the direct ventless and wood burning here in a second. But let's talk about, like, if we have a customer that's with Wheeling Builders or whoever else builders, and we send them up to your showroom, or how does that selection process work? I kind of know how it starts with you and I, but how does that selection process work?
So I think at first, I think the customer will have a vision. I mean, if they've seen maybe an open house or a model, or they've seen a Homerama house, they have visions.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of going with, if someone from, if you say, hey, I'm going to send so-and-so up to look at the fire, they kind of have a feeling of what they like.
Yeah.
From what's great is now you can build, from traditional to wood to gas to linear, more modern styles. But the internet is good, bad. The good is people can get their vision.
Yeah.
They can see, hey, I really like that style. So if we can understand what their style is, I can say, okay. And then at our showroom up in Centerville, we probably have 50 different burning displays, which is great because as much as people want to see stuff on online or in pictures, people still want to have a feel.
Yeah.
And a really eye to eye, hey, this is what this is going to look like in my house.
Right.
So if they do, it's like this type of fireplace or this type of fireplace. And there really is a distinction between modern and traditional.
Oh, yeah.
And we can get ultra modern or we can be really traditional. And I think from that point, you can kind of dwindle down to what, hey, this is functional wise, budget wise, and my overall look of the fire.
Yeah.
What
Space.
I'm wanting to, and space and things like that will, be the best for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the way we get started with our customers and before they get to you is you and I, we get the plans. We have these conversations with them early on. What are you thinking about these fireplaces? And what do you, do you want gas? Or are you thinking about wood burning and so on? So people usually take wood burners for the outdoor on the rear porch, and we do gas on the inside. And so you and I, when we get the plans, I'll send you the plans. And we'll either spec something or I'll say, hey, what do you think about this space? And you'll throw a couple different options back at me. And then when we move on from there, the people are either looking on the internet or they were sending them up to you. I hope that they come up and visit you, because I think that what we want for our customers to experience, even though because it'd be a lot of running around, I want them to come up and see it. Enjoy the experience. I don't want to buy a car over the internet. Yeah. I want to go drive it. I want to go see it. I want to go smell it. I want to go all that stuff. And I think that's important.
I do. It's funny is I think I've said this for 15, 20 years now, and I still believe this today. 50% of new home customers, when it comes to fireplaces, they don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, they's like, hey, I saw it in your open, I saw it in the Homerama, or I saw that here. Just if it's budget, it's gas, or hey, it's budget in the wood. I'm good. That's fine. It looks great. Other 50%, it is hey, I need to know everything about it. I want to know how it looks. I want to know all options. I want, it's down to the detail or how high it is off the ground. I mean, it's really good. And I trust me, I like them customers,
right. They
just
care
because they care, and they're going to know, because I will say this, some of the customers that didn't care at the time, they will when they move into the house.
Right.
And that's the only thing that scares me. Well, I thought,
I didn't know.
I didn't know that I didn't have this or didn't have that.
That's selective
amnesia.
amnesia.
I'm just like, hey, I understand. I built a house before, and it's sometimes that's overwhelming, but it's just something that just take a step, really look at everything.
I think people will sometimes, most of the time, look at us and think that, they chose us for a reason to build their house. We're not going to do all these nice things and then put a shitty fireplace in there, or something. They're going to trust the fact that we did something really good with it. But I, like you're talking about with these spaces, and kind of backtracking and back a little bit. talking about the spaces, talking about the feel when these people walk in, one of the things I want is for the fireplace to look real, like it's the big deal. It's not, unless it's the linear and it is going for a specific look. But I want that box to be big and it's got the fire block in it. And even if we just do a wood burning box and we do the gas log set on it, but I want it to look like a fireplace.
Yep.
You know, and so some of those inserts that are just the direct vent gas fireplaces don't necessarily look as much like a fireplace, but I also want it to be the focal point. So I had this conversation with our appliance guide, Alex Friedman, just a couple weeks ago. And we were talking about when you are lining things up in the house, because all of our floor plans are so open. And so when we are looking across the room, if there's a fireplace in there and it's on the center of that wall and we're coming back over towards the kitchen, then the sink has to be centered. The hood has to be centered. If we have a cathedral ceiling, has to be centered. So then all of these pieces become the focal point. So now, even if you didn't care about your fireplace, you better start caring because it's the big deal in the house.
Yes. Know? So it's because I mean beams.
Yeah,
it has to be centered with beams.
Yeah.
Stone, TV. It's all kind of together. I mean, and it's funny is we were talking about fireplaces now in the middle of the house. I would say, and I don't know, most fireplaces have the TV above them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a TV fireplace wall.
Yep.
I mean, it is what it, unfortunately, it's just fortunate or unfortunate. I mean, open, living areas, that is how you put it, how it works.
Yeah.
Fireplace in the bottom, mantle, TV.
I encourage people because I think that gets a little bit awkward with that TV above there. And people love it. I mean, they do it all the time. But we are thinking about this fireplace, not in terms of the type of fireplace, but in terms of the size of the room when you're thinking about the space. So if you don't plan on putting your TV above the fireplace or you plan on changing it at some point in time, we want to make the fireplace grand and have stone and have all kinds of things going on around it. But you better make sure that both sides of flanking the fireplace have plenty of room to put a bigger TV in case you drop it down to a normal level. And now, a little bit more classier look to it would be fireplace, stone, mantle, and then some art or something like that above it. And the TV's kind of over on the side. So early on in the design phase, we need to be thinking about what that fireplace size is going to be. So let's talk a little bit about that because I know they sell fireplaces on the size, right? I mean, that's what we always used to say. 42-inch fireplace. Yeah. And it's like, so when you think about that size of that fireplace, and I was just talking about, I want it to be as grand and big as possible. What does it, because the size doesn't necessarily depict the size of the unit because like those linears they come in on a trailer.
Yes. So, I mean, most, it just depends on the fireplace. The bigger the fireplace actually is bigger the box.
Yeah.
But you have to figure out, your spacing. And I agree. If you have bookshelves on both sides, I mean, you don't want to try to fill up a 10-foot area between the bookshelves with a 36-inch fireplace.
Sitting on the floor.
And then, hey, I always wanted this 80-inch TV.
Yeah.
Well, small box fireplace, mantle, and then a big TV. It just makes it look even smaller than what it really is.
Yep.
So you really have to be careful. I mean, that's the biggest thing hey, how the width, showing width of that fireplace it's to what else are you having around it?
Yep.
That's probably number one. Then, you want to look and again, just what you said, I want it to be grand or I want it to feel like a fireplace. And especially with gas fireplaces, the deeper the fireplace will make it deeper, the bigger log set or more of a feel of a real fireplace.
Yep.
A lot of times the deeper fireplaces now even have bigger flames.
Yep.
That gives you that feel of a real fireplace in December, when you're at Christmas time or holidays compared to this little fireplace that used to be 20 years ago back in the day.
Right.
So I think that is what people, need to understand is, hey, I need to pick this out. And unfortunately, fireplaces is one of the first things you have to pick out in a house.
Yeah.
It's the funniest thing. I always tell people, I was like, I mean, we are in there at the same time as windows.
Yeah.
And now you're sitting on that fireplace has to sit in that house for 6-9 more months And it's just like, it's an appliance. You got, we wrap it. We try to do everything we can to keep that thing as pristine as possible during the construction process.
Right.
So it needs the spacing, the size, especially. And I do agree. It's, where that mantle is, what you're going to do above the mantle. If it needs to be, symmetrical with what you got.
Right. I think the key to this is just like we were talking a couple weeks ago with Alex from the appliance place. I mentioned that before, is that it's not just about going and picking out a fireplace. I mean, we'll take a Heat and Glow 42, and it doesn't work like that. You need to think about proportion, space, how you want to use it. What is the grand look that you're looking for? But then also, it's not just about the box, it's about the surround, and it's about the stone or brick or however we do that with whatever you're going to, there's so many different things. And this is the difference between production and custom. Again,
exactly.
we're thinking about all these things with the customer, and we're thinking about things with you, our teammate that's coming on board here to look at this and say, hey, you go talk to Bryan. He's going to take care of it. It's not like go talk to Bryan. He's the fireplace salesman. It's go talk to Bryan. We need to talk about how we're going to lay this out. Which is the best unit? What all these different the ideas that need to go together with this thing. It just makes it more of a custom process. So what is the number one, I don't know, what is many of the questions that you get from customers when they walk in a door? What do they want to know? I mean, is there anything specific that we don't think of that's outside the obvious?
Ooh, I would say right now, I mean, heat. Hey, how much am I going to heat? It all depends. You have some people that are worried about the heat, and you have some that they don't want the heat. They just want the flame.
Right.
And so you have to kind of, it really is a balancing point, because people don't realize, hey, everybody wants this big flame, but a lot of people don't want all the heat.
Yeah.
Well, it correlates.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and there's times where there's not much. It's a great, I love the flame, but I don't, I'm getting burned up. I was like, well, I don't know what to tell you here.
Isn't that a shame?
Yeah.
You have to say, hey, just so you know, the bigger the flame, the hotter it's going to get.
Exactly. So not really. I mean, there's people, again, I think people today are more educated about what they're buying. I think, home builders are more educated in what's being put in their houses.
I would hope so.
I think so. I think it's gotten a lot better than it was, let's say, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So so I don't think there's anything per se that, hey, this is, off, kind of something you guys aren't thinking. I do think with wood burning fireplaces, some people, they love the sound of burning wood, but you're burning wood.
Right.
I mean, in it, and you are putting, these houses are so airtight. The one thing I'd say about burning wood, houses are so airtight now because, everybody's worried about, leaking air.
Yeah.
The problem, that's bad for the fireplace.
Right.
So
you have to create a draft.
You have to create a draft.
It has to create a draft.
If your windows are, if they're, not leak, they're tight as tight can be, which that's what everybody wants. They want to keep everything in the house. Well, that's a problem for the fireplace.
Yeah.
And so we just have to let people know, hey, it's not just putting a couple pieces of wood on a Saturday night, lighting it up, and hey, it's going to smoke on you. So you got to just be a little bit more knowledgeable. Especially on the wood burning fireplace part, and it's actually really good. It's funny that you talk about the outdoor fireplaces.
Yeah.
And that's a huge segment for us right now. I mean, I'm sure for you guys, I don't think there's not a house that you guys are doing two fireplaces.
Oh yeah.
One great room, one on the exterior.
Yep.
And I feel like it's really got to the point that most people are really doing if they want to burn wood, they keep it outside. And it kind of, it lets people get that feel.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, you're not tracking wood in, you're not having to deal with it so much. And that does help.
You put that fireplace on the back porch like that, and maybe you screen it in. It'll get you an extra month on both sides of the seasons.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can hang out there. And
instead of, October, it's, you can definitely get into November and you're back up there in March.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what everybody's doing now. It's really bringing another, you're taking a whole new area of square footage.
Right.
And you're using it more than just from, Labor Day to Memorial Day.
I think that I tell everybody this all the time. Our home Rama house didn't even have a finished basement in it this year because all of our entertainment is on the first floor. Even in 21, when we built that house out there, we had a bar on the first floor. Everything, you put these huge doors in there, the 16-foot wide doors, and the back porch with a fireplace on it. You have, and this year we had the fireplace in the dining room and not even in the great room. So you are using that entire space, just like you said. The outdoor becomes another living area for the indoor space of your house, and especially with that fireplace back there, it's such a focal point, and it's something. I don't know if it was the fire pit thing or just a bunch of hillbillies, the rednecks, or were the bonfire thing. Like we're like, we're gonna keep on burning stuff,
all year.
I need that fireplace, so it's really a big deal to have it on the back porch of theirs, but. So when how do you? That's another question I was going to ask you is how do you keep up on, because we're talking about wood burners? How do you keep up on building codes and all those things? Because you're one of the many people that the manufacturer's specs override any kind of building code, or even is there anything in the build? There's a few things in the building code, but the manufacturer's specs are probably more important than the building code.
Well, definitely. Well, we'll take that. The manufacturer specs is what you go to.
Right.
Now, if there is a local building code, can supersede it.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately,
the building code supersedes the manufacturer specs?
Building code can supersede
really?
Manufacturer specs.
Wow.
Now, I've never had a building code or, a inspector say, well, no, even though that says it, we're not going to do it that way.
Yeah.
Never had that. But it is they will tell you that local codes supersede manufacturers.
Wow, I would have thought it was vice versa.
No, it actually
because we do that with sheeting and shingles and everything else, and it all refers back.
Well,
to
I think it's more than anything else, and it will. They refer.
Yeah,
they always refer. But if they want an extra layer of protection of something, if it's flooring or something else, and inside the chimney itself, where we run the vent. You have to do it.
Right. Yeah. Otherwise, you're not going to move forward.
Exactly. They'll fail you, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of go with it. I think especially with wood burning fireplaces. You have to be right by the book. And there's no, hey, it's we get sometimes hey, the framing's wrong, you want us to put it in. It's like, no, it's just you fix it and then we'll come back.
Yeah.
And I think that's just being just kind of just your senses, common sense, just, hey, this is not right, or hey, let's just be careful. I think if you do it that way, then everybody, you stay within lines. And what's nice is wood burning fireplaces, they all have the same basic manual, their specifications,
right?
Or what you can do, what you can't do. So just, that is the one thing that, just stay in that way. Now I will say different fireplaces may have different like mantle requirements on, how much heat is producing. So you just kind of got to educate the builder, educate the homeowner. Hey, just remember, you got to be this far away from the fireplace. Let's just, especially on fireplaces maybe we haven't done before or the builder hasn't done, and just say, hey, just off the side here. Let's just remember where you're at.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants, it's so funny, especially with wood burning fireplaces, everybody wants that mantle to be here and here, and it just sometimes it just does not, the functionality wise, just ain't gonna allow it to work.
I think I make sure everybody understands what we're talking about when we talk about these building codes, and the majority of what we're talking about here is clearances, and so when you put a fireplace in the wood burning frame, that it has to be a certain distance away from the frame members. it had the flue running up has to be a certain distance away from any of the framing members going through there. There's fire blocking, oddly enough. It's no pun intended. There's fire blocking in the chimney every so many feet, and then there's also a fire block that goes around the chimney pipe itself. There is a clearance that when you sit the fireplace on the subfloor or on the hearth, it has to sit up, especially a wood burner, has to sit up so high above that subfloor for protection of in case anything flies out.
Yep.
And then there's other different for the mantle is what we were talking about. Sometimes, or a lot of times, on a wood burner, the mantle can't be closer to the flame; it has to be up higher, which makes it look stupid sometimes because the requirement for it. Because we want these big ass mantles to go on there. I mean, it's cool. It's a focal point. And it's going to be really, really cool. And then we put this like 12-inch tall mantle on there, and it's almost touching the ceiling. And we're like, oh, this doesn't look very good anymore. Exactly. So you have to change what you're doing.
And that's the stuff too. When we talk about, hey, when your customers or call in or somebody, it's like, hey, what can we do with this? I'm like, okay, you only have 9-foot ceilings in this, you just got to understand where you're building and what you're trying to do. Yeah. And so that's what we try to help, help you and your customer.
Yeah. What's the best way for a customer that's getting ready to come see you or getting ready to build a house? What's the best way for them to get started thinking about their fireplace?
I would think I think first would be to, and again, have a vision. And if you see something, and I have a hard time believing there's not a customer that's like, oh, I've been looking. I know. I mean, they the internet's the craziest thing. They can see pictures, but it's kind of okay. Wood or gas, you can break it down. If you want, with wood burning fireplaces, it's like, okay, how big of an area are you where you want to be at? If it's going to be a grander area, or hey, not much, just kind of a simple, very easy. We're going to do some stone or this or thin brick or whatever around the fireplace. When it comes to gas, then it just brings in other subsects, other sub areas of the, gas industry, from linear to traditional. How big you want the fireplace? Are you wanting cleaner lines? Are you wanting what kind of fire brick inside the fireplace you like? Some people like, hey, do you like the, even now it's like you can pick the different log configuration. I've seen now they come out with a birch log set, which has been very popular. So I think if, Heat and Glow, cause that's who we supply, they've allowed customers to really customize their fireplace. Yeah. And I think that is fantastic because they can say, hey, I got a different fireplace, and, and it may be very simple, but it's something different. Yep. And people want, they want when they finally move into the house, it's like, wow, that's a cool fireplace. Yeah. I think I would agree with you. I talk to people and sometimes they'll be like, well, we're not going to build for a couple of years. I'm like, no, whether you realize it or not, you've already started. Yep. We may not start digging the basement for a couple of years, but as soon as you start thinking about building a house, it consumes you. You start going over to your friend's house for a party. You're looking around. You're looking at different things that you wouldn't have normally looked at. For us, as soon as we sit down and we start moving forward, like we're going to move forward building your house, we create a Pinterest page for you that shares with our whole company and shares with you, and then people usually add their kids or whoever else. You can get on it. Other vendors can get on it. Other trade suppliers can get on it, and this way you can see the inspiration pitch that people have. What happens most of the time with that is that if they have 10 pictures, you'll see 10 common themes throughout that, even if it could be completely different houses. And you could say, hey, I see you like this. And they're like, well, I had no idea. Well, your eyes attracted to it. So that's a good way for them to get fired up and come into you. And again, no pun intended. That was funny. To get excited about coming in and talking to you and about the fireplace. So there's so many cool things. I think that when I think about fireplaces, I think about when I was a kid, Christmas time, and that's where the kind of like the Christmas tree was kind of over in that area. It had a huge brick hearth. It was old. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was a traditional real fireplace. The family gathered around there, whether we had a fireplace or a fire in there or not. It was always the focal point, and then I think, like I said, with my grandparents' house, there was always a wood burning stove. It was always a highlighted point of my childhood somewhere in a house. It was pretty cool. So I think it's really, really important for what you guys do. And so what else do you have to add? Well, I mean, is there anything else that you would talk about? If you wanted the world to know about Dayton Fireplaces, what would you tell them?
That's a good question. I think that we're, I think at the end of the day it's a family run business that, we do fireplaces.
Yep.
And I think we've done it well. I mean, we've 34 years now. So it's, we show a lot. We have a lot of expertise on it. We don't try to oversell. We just try to give you what you want. And again, like I said, I think at the end of the day is, you have a lot of these other companies that are doing, the fireplace, mason,
shelving and garage
doors and things like that. We do fireplaces.
Yeah.
I get all the time, grills.
Oh yeah.
Grills is, in the industry, people do, a lot of people that over in the country, in the region, a lot of fireplace companies will do grills because it's a summer, fall, winter, kind of two different seasons.
Yeah.
And I just can't. It's like, I was like, no, I want to do, I know fireplaces. I think we do it good. We stick with what we know.
That's awesome.
So
that's good.
That's the best I can do.
I just want to tell you how much I appreciate working with you. And mainly because of that, I don't want, just going by and getting Bob's used fireplaces. I mean, I think we want to make sure that we're dealing with a family owned and operated, but really you have a passion for it. And I've seen that a long time, but it's really important for us to do business with you and for us to be teammates in this whole deal. Because of the way you handle things and you're passionate about it. The funniest, and it's the most embarrassing, the funniest thing ever. I think that I can't remember where you and I were years ago, and I didn't know you were the owner. And so I'm like, I've just figured you and I talk all the time. And I don't think we met until in person until 2017. You came up to do
the trade show. The trade appreciation day.
Yep. You came up to do something and you introduced yourself and I'm like, no kidding. I talk to you all the time.
It's funny to this day, people will call me and I try to, I've always been the sales guy. But it's, it's,
you got a business to run.
We got a business to run.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say, hey, well, so I still to this day do not tell a lot of people that, hey, I'm the president. I just say, hey, I'm, so I just kind of, I've used sales manager many times.
Yep.
There's builders. And there's builders to this day that will still say, hey, no, I want you. I was like, okay.
I would have thought for sure that when you got to the point where you owned the company, the first thing you would have done was got rid of me and put me onto a salesperson.
No.
We were at that youth fundraiser the boosters fundraiser last year. And I told you that I'm like, I had no idea that you were.
It's still to this. I don't like this. I don't talk about it much, but it's, and there's a couple, owners of it. I am the president. So, but it, like I said, it really is a kind of a family business.
Yeah.
I mean, and at the end of the day, it's going to fall on my lap anyway. So I might as well just, it's easier for me to, work with the people I know.
Yeah. That's it. Well, like I said, we appreciate you. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come over here and do this.
Inviting me.
And it's been cool. I always learn more about people, just like we're talking about. We don't get a chance to spend a lot of time together and learn more about. So we get a chance to learn about each other on this thing. But I want you to know how much we appreciate working with you guys and your company. There's a reason why we do this together, and it's proof right here as of today. So thanks for being here. And like as always, we appreciate you. So, hey, everybody, this is Bryan Kyle here on the WB Download. He is with Dayton Fireplace, a long-time partner of Wheel and Builders. We appreciate you being here. Well, Well, there you have it, folks. Hopefully my introduction for Bryan was led up to the hype. And I know it did, because I really enjoyed sitting down with him and talking to him. And as we were walking out of today and talking, looking at this and talking about things, I always get to know more about people when I interview them on here, and Bryan is no exception. So it's really cool. It's cool to have another Lebanon guy in here. And we're talking about doing business, but it's so cool. Again, I can't stress this enough to say that he's been here for 15 plus years working with Wheel and Builders. We've been working with Dayton Fireplace, and we're super proud of that and proud of them and that legacy that they're carrying on up there in Dayton. So thanks again, Bryan, for being here. Can't thank you enough for all the stuff you guys do with our company and being part of this team. I want to thank the audience for listening once again to the WB Download. We're super proud of what you've got going on here with us, and remind you that, we switched over also to YouTube. So when if you want to go onto YouTube and check things out for the WB Download, it's on there. Let's think about the next episode will be the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. So the second Tuesday of November, which we will be deep into. Hopefully we'll be done with the elections by then, and we will not have to put up with this crap anymore. We will know the faith of the world, because it's, as my dad says, the most important election of our lives. But so anyway, the next episode will be the second Tuesday in November, and I think we're going to do that one on our own. We have a couple topics that we're going to talk about on that show. So anyway, I want to remind you to subscribe to the WB Download on where you get your favorite podcast service, and like I said, check out YouTube for us for the WB Download. Reminding everybody to tune in whenever you can. You can start and stop whenever you want. I know these things go on a little bit longer, but we got people that want to talk and they got things to say. If you want to be part of the conversation, send your questions to wbdownload@wheelandbuilders.com. wbdownload@wielandbuilders.com. And if you will, check us out on social media on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest, and also check us out at wheelandbuilders.com. We've got some really, really awesome pictures on there to show you the cool stuff that we get to do with our customers. So thanks again, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Bryan, for being here. And we will catch you next time here on the WB Download.